Ladies and gentlemen, hey, hi, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by. After the recent meta updates here in Warzone, we've got some new interesting weapons towards the top of the TTK charts. These are going to be the weapons that absolutely obliterate everyone. They've got the fastest time to kill in the entire game. And we are starting here first with one that is absolutely beyond busted, but it's also kept in check because it's not so easy to use. Now, for the most part, today's list of these top 5 is not in any given order because these weapons are used at various different ranges. They're fastest TTKs that I highlight via the stats based out of True Game Data and Sim.gg are highlighting their most effective and standout range where their TTK is just ridiculously fast compared to similar comparison weapons to them. And the Lachmann 762, quite frankly, if you turn this thing into full auto, that's the key component of breaking this TTK and making it so fast. Fully auto, it's gonna beat everything everywhere. The problem is that it is not easy to use whatsoever. There is so much recoil over long range when you use this that really it's sort of confined to being a mid-range style weapon, and then you have to flip to semi-auto for long range, which the TTK is not as fast. But at 60 meters, in theory, if you're landing shots consistently, you have a 776 millisecond TTK, which is light years faster than everything else at that range, basically, right? So this is the setup that I think optimizes it the most for fully auto, but then you're still able to switch to semi-auto and do well with it if you need in certain situations. We got the AMOT V4 optic. You can use this optic if you like this, or if you like a different one more, feel free to always switch to what you're the most comfortable with. 50 round drum in full auto, you're definitely going to want to have the most ammo possible, so you got that on there. The Ripper underbarrel helps out a ton in semi-auto for the recentering, but then also still helps out in full auto with the stabilization and making that recoil pattern even more predictable, so that's a huge W there. The Bore 490 muzzle, this is a compensator that's primarily focusing on horizontal bounce, which just makes this recoil pattern even more predictable, but you do get some vertical help out of this too, so this is a wildly important attachment as well. Then I go for the Rat barrel. It gives you better control and better velocity, so once more, just making it more efficient for the mid to long range. This is probably the highest skill gap weapon in the game right now. It's also the single most rewarding weapon in the game right now. If you can hit shots with this thing in full auto, it quite literally will beat everything. Next up, we've actually got the Icarus. This is a bit of a surprising one because it is super underrated, super slept on, but at 63 meters, it's actually got a 1015 millisecond TTK, or just over a second long TTK, which on paper might not sound like anything crazy. But if you break down the stats, you compare this to other LMGs, which are like the kings of long range right now. You compare this to other rifles and even some battle rifles, it's actually killing faster than those at that range, while doing so in a very low recoil kind of way. It's a very versatile LMG that doesn't feel nearly as bogged down as some of the other options in the category, which is super nice to see. So here again, I got AMOT V4. I do go for high velocity in this case because it's so straightforward and so easy to use. You can actually use this and not worry about it bouncing too much while getting that benefit of basically feeling easier to hit shots consistently, because that hit reg is almost going to feel like it's more consistent when you don't have to worry about as much bullet drop or bullet lead. Ripper underbarrel yet again for that better stabilization and stability. The Echoless 80 suppressor here, this is a lighter suppressor, so it's not going to give you any control, but it will give you that extra velocity and range. Then the Cold Forge barrel, this gives you not only a cool sounding barrel, but it gives you better damage range and velocity as well. So really this thing is just going to be great for mid to long range gunfights. I love the feel of it, and like I said, it's slept on, but it's a ton of fun to use and really effective. Now as we get into some of these other options, quick reminder, if you guys are new to the channel, every day I got you covered with the latest meta breakdowns, news, patch notes, basically everything going on in COD. So if you want to stay up to date with that stuff, feel free to hit that subscribe button and join us on the road to 1 million subscribers. And if you guys enjoyed the video, if you find this information helpful at all, if you're screenshotting these class setups, do me a favor, drop a like on the video. It does really help the channel grow. Also, if you are looking at screens for long periods of time, whether it's gaming, absolutely frying with these setups here today, maybe it's doing work, doing school, do yourself a favor. Pick yourself up a pair of Gamer Advantage glasses. I say it every single time I promote these, but these are the most essential part of my day-to-day setup. They reduce headaches, which I always, for my entire life, have gotten a ton of. Way less now that I wear these constantly. They reduce eye strain, and they even help you sleep better at night, so you can wake up feeling nice and refreshed the next day, ready to do it all over again. They got prescription and regular lenses. They got plenty of different frame options. I even have my own custom bundle with them as well, with some Who's Immortal branded gear in there. If you want to check out any of that, throw in code Immortal at checkout. You'll get a nice little discount, and the link for that will be down in the description below. Next up, potentially another very surprising option, the BAS-P. You think of fast TTK SMGs, you got the ISO, you got the MP5, but the BAS-P, while it doesn't thrive super up close in that ultimate close range meta, in the mid range, it does really thrive. It's got a 725 millisecond TTK at 19 meters, whereas a lot of the other subs are not going to be anything near that because their damage drop-offs are a lot more severe. This thing's also pretty straightforward and pretty easy to use, and it just so happens you can build it out in a million different ways, and it's going to be effective regardless of how you build it. Now, this is a setup that I've been running for some time now, and so I'm very used to it. I'm very comfortable with it, and that's why I'm constantly running this. But that said, you notice I'm not optimizing with a barrel, a muzzle, a stock, things like that. If you really want to focus on those and add those in, you can switch out certain components of this and really build it to fit your play style and still have that very fast TTK. But for me, I don't really love the irons all that much, so I go for a basic blue dot. This helps me just keep on target more. I feel like I land more headshots when I'm using this because it's just a clearer visual for me. 7 milliwatt laser, so it's nice and snappy with the ADS and sprint to fire. I love overpressured ammo, but hollow point and frangible also have their strengths as well. Being able to basically stop healing or stop enemies from sprinting is great. I like adding in that extra flinch though. As soon as I land a shot, that enemy's gonna have a harder time hitting me, and that allows you to win those one-on-ones basically. 50 round drum, your basic extended mag. Then I like the brew and flash rear grip for that better ADS and sprint to fire. Again, just making it feel nice and snappy. So aggressive SMG, fast TTK, very usable and very versatile as well. Ton of fun. Now, yes, our brand new addition to the rifle category, the FR Avancer, aka the FFAR or the FAMAS, is actually a top TTK weapon right now for sniper support. At 35 meters, which is like that prime mid-range area for sniper support, it's got a 965 millisecond TTK, which is actually beating out things like the 74U, the Razorback, even the Chimera. So this thing as a sniper support is a top tier option and has one of those better mid-range TTKs right now, while being a super aggressive rifle, and it's really built to thrive in that sort of specific range and with that playstyle. So this setup really optimizing that sniper support style build. I go for the ion rear grip. This is going to help out straight up with recoil control, and you can make it even easier by tuning for that even more. The 60 round extended mag, this does have a pretty high fire rate, so having extra ammo on there is going to be a necessity for sure. Ripper on a barrel for that better stabilization, just making that sway a little bit less noticeable and that recoil pattern more predictable. Harbinger suppressor, this is a heavier option, so a little bit of a slower ADS, but you're getting even more recoil control out of this, which is nice to see, alongside obviously the added velocity and range per usual. And then that sort of counteracts because the FR 435 barrel limits your damage range a bit, but it helps out with control and velocity, which really, again, for sniper support, I feel like makes this even more optimal. You'll notice I don't use an optic here. That's because the irons are super clean, and when you're fighting in the mid-range, it's super easy to spot targets and stay in track on them with these irons. They're just one of my favorite in the game, honestly. Even though this is a brand new weapon, they've already climbed that rank for me. Really fun setup, and of course, it's brand new, so it's gonna feel fresh. It's gonna feel unique. And then lastly, we got another very high skill gap weapon, the FTAC Recon. And on paper, this thing is absolutely nuts. Right up there conveniently with the Lachmann 7.62. At 52 meters, this is going to have a 768 millisecond TTK if you're able to land shots consistently. That's the asterisk here though. Landing shots consistently with this thing is not easy. Also, boy, are you limited on ammo. This takes sniper ammo first and foremost, so you gotta stack up on that because you will burn through it while you're spamming and frying players with this. Also, the max capacity is 15 rounds. So the Lachmann 7.62, it's a high skill gap weapon, high entry barrier, high reward. This is maybe just as difficult, if not even more difficult, because you're so limited with your ammo specifically. But if you can utilize this well, if you can really master this gun and be accurate with it over spamming it, really the Lachmann 7.62 is the only thing that can compete with it. I like the Schlager 3.4 times optic on my semi-auto guns. It just feels really consistent for like mid to long range fights and staying on target with those. High velocity just to make that hit reg feel a bit more consistent. Ripper under barrel here is super important for that recentering and just making it so that it's easier to stay on target as you're spamming. And Sack and Tread 40 helping out with that vertical and that horizontal control. Once more, when you spam, there's a decent amount of noticeable recoil, so that'll help limit that as well. If you wanted to, you could honestly swap out high velocity for a barrel that might help out more with control and range. Like the Rider here would be a decent option for that. You could even go for a rear grip for control if you wanted to, but for me, this is a setup that feels consistent for as difficult as this weapon is to use, and if you spend time getting used to it, it really is very, very rewarding. And that being said, those are the top 5 fastest TTK builds right now in Warzone 2. That's going to wrap things up. If you enjoyed the video, if you found the information helpful, do me a favor, drop a like. And if you guys are new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button on your way out to stay up to date with all things going on in the world of Call of Duty. But once again, thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.